Would you guys like to generate images locally for free and forever using your own hardware? Well, let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to be using Pinokio to install Forge with Flux, and in my opinion this is the easiest way to do this. So if you check the link in the description, go to pinokio.computer and then click on download, which will bring you over to this page. Scroll down until you find install. So I'm going to be using Windows, and then just left click on this file over here to start the download. You'll see that when we actually start installing it, you might see this Windows pop up that says Windows protect your PC. Just click on more info, click on run anyway, and we can start installing Pinokio on our computer. So once you got the file downloaded, you're going to need WinZip or WinRAR just to unzip this file. So I'll just double click on here and drag this onto my desktop, and then I'll double click on the exe to start the process of the installation. So now you'll be directed to the settings page, where it's actually going to be asking you where you want to install Pinokio and all of its files. One thing I need to mention over here, when I actually checked the installation file size of both Pinokio and Forge, it came up to a whopping 96 gigabytes for some reason. So just make sure you have a sufficient amount of space on whatever hard drive you intend on using. So I'm going to be putting this on my H drive, right? And I'm going to be using the dark theme just because I think it looks better. And then once that's done, you click on save, and it's going to create a Pinokio file in that hard drive directory. So once that's done, you'll be directed to the welcome page, and if I go to my hard drive, here is the Pinokio folder that's been created, and it's just created a bunch of files in here. But now we can continue in Pinokio and we can start installing Forge. Alright, so now I want you to go ahead and click on Discover, and this is going to load a bunch of different tools that you can install on your computer. You can see Comfy UI, Forge, Live Portrait, all this good stuff. The main thing you want to install over here is Forge, because this is what we're going to be using to actually generate our images with Flux. Now you can see this is a one-click solution. You literally just click on Download, and then you can see over here there's a installation requirements. So just click on install and let it run through this entire process. Now this might take a bit of time depending on your internet speed, but yeah, I'm going to click on install, and then it will send all of this to the command prompt, and you can see that it needs to install, well, 1 of 9 with the process. So just let it go through the entire process and it will install everything for you. And yeah, it literally is that simple. So the chances are, even though it installed what it needed to install, there's probably some stuff that still didn't end up installing. So if you see this screen, just click on install again so that it can complete the entire process. If you see this pop up, just click on download. At this point, all of the necessary files have been installed in order to run Pinokio, and now it's prompting me to install Forge. So when you see this, just simply click on install. So now you'll be redirected to this page within Pinokio, which is Forge, and you can see over here it's currently downloading the necessary files to actually run Forge. So just be patient and let it download everything. So once Forge has successfully downloaded, it's actually going to open up for the first time ever, and it will actually switch from terminal to open web UI, and this is the screen that you'll end up seeing. And by installing Forge with Pinokio, it automatically downloaded a version of Flux for me, which is the NF4 version. So think of NF4 as an optimized version of Flux that can even run on 6 GB cards. So now just to do a quick test, and we'll actually just generate a quick image. So what I tend to do over here with the swap location, I put this on shared so that, you know, the processing power is shared both between the CPU and the GPU, and I tend to just reduce the GPU weight over here a little bit. So I'm going to bring mine down to about 17,000, and now I can automatically just type in a prompt. I don't need to adjust anything else. So I can say a girl wearing a red jacket holding a sign that says Flux in Forge. And then from there, just simply click on generate, and we will be generating our first image using Flux in Forge with Pinokio. So there we go, that's the image it generated, and Flux is incredible when it comes to image quality and prompt adherence. So you can see we've got a girl, she's wearing a red jacket, and she's definitely holding a sign that says Flux in Forge. So I can select that and see it in better detail. If you want to see all of the images that you generate, you can click on this folder icon over here, and that's actually going to bring up the directory. You can see exactly where it is. So we've got our Pinokio folder, it's in API, And this is actually where it installed Forge within this Pinokio folder. So here's Forge, then we can go to App, and we can go to Outputs, Text to Image, because we are using text to image, and then this is today's date, and this is where all of your images that you generate within Forge will be saved. And just another tip for a better overall user interface experience, I actually would recommend clicking on Popout. So this is going to run it in your browser. So this will be running now in Google Chrome. And I feel like this is just a much better way to use Forge is in your actual browser. Okay, but going back to Pinokio, so now you can see I did this as a test just to make sure that it is generating images and you have at least, you know, this optimized version of Flux installed. But now I'm going to click on stop because I do want to explain something else regarding Flux. So on the left hand side, you'll see that there's a section here called download models. So if you left click on this, it's going to bring down a drop down menu and you can download different models like Stable Diffusion or even Flux. In order to download a model, you obviously just left click on it, and then on the right hand side in the command prompt, it will actually download the model for you and place it in the necessary folder. But this tutorial is about Flux, and I just want to explain Flux in a little bit more detail so that you can decide which version works best for you. So first of all, Flux models are optimized to work with Nvidia GPUs. So if you want the best performance, use an Nvidia GPU. All right, so the first Flux model over here, which is the Flux One Dev FP8, this is suitable for more, you know, like newer hardware or newer cards like the 3090 or the 4090. It's definitely going to provide the best image quality, detail, and prompt adherence. So if you've got those cards of 24 gigabytes of VRAM, take full advantage of this model to get the best results. Now the NF4 version, which was installed by default, is quite a good middle ground. You can see it's suitable for cards of 12 gigabytes of VRAM or more, but I have seen messages online where people were even using 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And with this one, the quality is actually similar to FP8. It's smaller in size, it uses less VRAM, and it's even faster than the FP8. So this is actually a pretty good model to use if you don't have the more higher end cards. Now the Schnell version over here, this one also you can see it's suitable for cards of 12 gigabytes of VRAM or more. This one definitely has the fastest generation, but there is a trade-off with the image quality and detail. So this last version at the bottom is only relatable to people with more lower end hardware. You can see it can run on 6 gigabytes of VRAM, but also before you even download this, maybe just give the NF4 version a try and see how that works with your card. But anyway, in the next part, I'm going to be showing you where to download these files, because you can see the GUF version is actually not available under download models. So I'll show you where to download everything and where to place it within Forge. And now there is one more recommendation for those of you who probably don't have the best hardware. It's to download these following models. Okay, so if you check the link in the description, I've provided a link to each of these models and all of the files you need to download. So the first link is going to take you to this Hugging Face page, so make sure you sign in. The first link you want to download over here under Files and Versions is this ae.safe tensors. So you'll click on Download. On this page over here, you want to download all three of these files, right? And then on this page, you want to download the Flux Dev Q2. So again, this what I'm explaining right now is only for people who have very low-end hardware, or they don't have enough VRAM. Maybe they've got 6 gigabytes. This is the stuff you want to be running. So once you've got all of that downloaded, all right, I want to show you the folder where you need to place this. So remember with our Pinokio folder that got created earlier on, just go into Pinokio. Then we want to go into API, go into Stable Diffusion Web Forge, go into App, go into Models. And now the first file over here, which is the ae.safe tensors, you want to put that in this VAE folder, right? Then the other three files that I mentioned to download, which is this clip, this TXXL FP16 and TXXL FP8, you want to put that in the text encoder folder. And then this Flux One Dev Q2, you want to place that in the Stable Diffusion folder. Once you've done that, you can open up Pinokio again, and let's click on Start. So let's run Pinokio again and make sure that everything is running perfectly fine. So I'll click on Start, and this will open up Forge. So once Forge is open, just click on this refresh button, and then it should show you the other available checkpoints over here. So the one that I wanted to show you right now, which is for lower end hardware, is going to be this Q2. Under the VAE, you want to select AE Safe Tensors, Clip L, and FP8, and then under the diffusion in low bits you want to select FP16 LoRa. then just go ahead and test this out. So type in a prompt over here and then click on generate and make sure it's actually generating an image. You can see my swap locations also on shared, and I just decreased my GPU weights a little bit more here, so there's just not too much strain on my hardware. Right, so there we go. You can see that it's generated an image. If I click on that, there we go. We've got our image with a female wearing a blue jacket holding a sign that says Flux in Forge. So you can still generate images even with lower end hardware. Obviously the quality is going to be decent, not that great as compared to the other FP8 version, but this still gives you the opportunity to generate images. So I am going to switch back to the FP8 version. I don't need any of these enabled. So I can click on that and I can revert back to automatic. So like I said, if you have a more powerful GPU, you definitely want to be using the FP8 version. So at this point, you can officially start using Flux with Forge, right? I've explained the different models that you can install for whatever necessary hardware you're using. So go ahead, have fun with this. I am going to add some more tutorials into the series where I'll be explaining more features within Forge, like how to do in-painting, out-painting, how to use LoRa's, explaining some more of these settings over here. But I just wanted to make sure you guys have got this up and running. So just some last tips now. Obviously, the best way to use Forge, in my opinion, is to click on Popout, because that's going to open it in a browser like this, and it's going to give you the best experience. So always use it within the browser, in my opinion. I'm just going to close this for now. Another thing, so whenever I click on stop within Forge, right, just make sure that you also click on update from time to time, so that this is always up to date. So you can see as soon as I click on that, the command prompt is going to update Forge. So another thing, I'm actually going to go ahead and close Pinokio right now, and let's launch Forge from scratch. So obviously we've got this installed on our PC, probably in the C drive. So I'm just going to load Pinokio and show you how to actually access Forge with a fresh start of Pinokio. So when Pinokio opens, you should be seeing the screen. If you don't, just click on this home icon over here and you should see Forge. So as soon as I left click on this, it's actually automatically going to start Forge. You can see over there it says starting, and then it's going to open the Forge UI in this window, and then you can obviously just click on Popout to make sure it's running in the browser. So that's going to be the end of this tutorial, and I hope that simplified the process, because I know downloading all of these files and putting them in folders can be convoluted and confusing. I think this is the easiest way to do it with Pinokio. So hopefully you guys are generating some images using Flux with Forge. Right, so I truly appreciate the support on this channel so much. You guys are awesome. Stay tuned for some more videos and tutorials, and goodbye.